Hey guys, it's John from Physical Living, and you're right, my beard has disappeared and it won't be gone for long because about 5 minutes after I shaved it, I realized I look like I'm 12 years old and I can't have that. So I decided 5 minutes after shaving, it is coming back, it will make its return, so do not fret, all you beard lovers out there. So in this video, I wanted to give you a bunch of different ways to increase the difficulty of the plank exercises, like your standard plank, your side plank. There's dozens, probably more than dozens of different ways to do plank exercises, and a lot of these tips will apply to most of them. So everybody knows that the simplest way to get better at planks and to progress at them and to make them harder is to just hold it for longer. If you can do it for a minute, try and do it for a minute 15. Try and work your way up to a 5-minute plank. I've got a 5-minute plank challenge that you guys can check out. I'm going to be mentioning some resources in this video because I've created a lot of content on plank training. So just check out below the video. I'll make sure to include links to whatever I mention. But for those of you who do not want to be doing planks for long periods of time because you get bored or it's not the best use of your training time, you'd rather be using it for something else, or you want to increase the strength challenge and not just the endurance challenge, because after a while, after a certain duration of holding a plank, the strength benefits begin to diminish and it becomes more about endurance. And so for you guys who want to really increase your core strength, most of these ideas will apply to you. Some of them are going to be fairly simple, some of them will probably be new to you, but I came up with a list of 10 and I'm going to try and move really quickly through them, not go into a lot of depth. So the first one that you can do is, I've got my notes here, so bear with me, I want to make sure I don't forget one of them. First one you can do is simply elevate your feet. That's going to put more weight on your arms and make the exercise more difficult, simply because of that. So you can put them on a step, a bench, your dog, whatever happens to be laying around. Really simple, straightforward. The next thing you can do is you can increase the leverage challenge of the plank, and you can do that by either sliding your arms forward or walking your feet backwards. What you do is when you open up this shoulder range of motion here, this angle here at your shoulder and your torso, that's going to put a greater leverage challenge on your core. Some people call this the RKC plank. It's really just a more difficult plank because of the leverage disadvantage. That's another thing you can do. Third thing you can do that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when it comes to plank training is just focus on the squeeze, the isometric contraction. Plank is an isometric exercise, but a lot of people think of it as just balancing and lasting as long as I can. But if you really want to challenge yourself, then while you're in that plank, you can combine a strong contraction of your core with your breathing. So as you exhale, for most people I recommend doing a slow, steady exhale while doing their planks. And while you do that, you can really lock down your core, just contract the whole corset of muscle, draw your belly in, contract your pelvic floor muscles, just really lock it down, and then when you have to inhale, you relax a little bit. So you kind of treat your plank like isometric repetitions. So you're not just doing it for time, you're also doing it for repetitions of this core contraction. That's just a really simple way, anybody can do it, to make it harder. Another obvious way is you can add extra resistance to your body. You can wear a backpack or a weight vest would probably be better if it's a good one. You can have a partner press down on your shoulders or your mid-back. You can use a resistance band, you can wrap it around you and anchor it at the floor at your sides or underneath your elbows. I've seen some people do it that way. But just increasing the resistance, so you have to contract harder to maintain that position, whether it's a front plank or side plank or whatever variation you're doing. Adding resistance is another obvious way to make it harder. Another thing you can do that a lot of people, I think they just don't think of it, is you can turn your plank into a moving plank. You don't have to just stay static. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. One of the more popular ones is to do like a lateral push-up walk, like that. And there's different ways you can do it, but that's one way. You could do a really super slow mountain climber, just really focusing, same thing as before, focusing on that breathing with that contraction. When you switch feet, you're going to notice just a slightly different emphasis on the muscles. You can do the body saw plank, which I don't have a video on. I've been meaning to. It's really hard. I can't really do it. with this flooring barefoot, but it's another moving plank exercise that I'll try to do a video on at some point. You can look it up for now. Another thing you can do is increase the stability challenge. So, if you have access to an exercise ball or some kind of suspension training system, rings or a TRX or something like that, anything that you can do to make yourself less stable is going to increase the challenge of the exercise. So you can roll your elbows onto a ball like this and do it in a push-up position. You need to pump this up a little bit. You do the same thing with your feet, and same thing with your suspension training system. You can put your arms on it, hang it really low to the ground, so you're just hovering above the ground. But you can do the same thing with your feet. You need to put your feet on top of the ball, put them on the sides and squeeze the ball. If you decrease your stability, I've seen people do it on top of medicine balls, that have a little wobble because they want to roll. Anything you can do to increase the stability challenge is going to make the exercise harder. I think that I don't need that anymore. Another one is you can decrease the base of your support and raise your center of gravity. So what I mean by that is that if you're performing an optimal plank with your forearms, elbows placed directly beneath your shoulders, you can move them in a little bit more. And this is not necessarily an efficient plank, but it is more challenging because there's more of a balance and stability component. Same thing with your feet. You can walk your feet together and it's going to be harder. Same thing when you're in the top plank position, and to a greater extent. So when you raise your center of gravity, your body weight in relation to the ground, it's going to get harder. All other things remaining equal. And you're going to notice this the most when you have a really small base of support, like one hand in a side plank. And if you raise your center of gravity more and more of your weight up in the air, it's going to get substantially harder. That's two things you can do: decrease your base of your support and raise your center of gravity, the mass of your body weight. Another one, kind of obvious, a lot of people do it, is you can lift a limb or two. You can raise an arm, you can raise a leg, you do one of each. Another obvious way to make it a little bit more harder, try to fight the tendency to twist and contort. You want to remain as neutral as you can. Of course, when you raise a limb, your body weight or your base of support changes, but I can't think of the word. There's going to be some movement that happens just to regain balance. So it would be very difficult, if not impossible, for most people to hold perfectly still and raise a limb, but that's what we're trying to focus on when we do those plank exercises. Another unconventional way to make planks more difficult is to add rotation. This is a little controversial, and all the usual medical disclaimers apply. Attempt at your own risk. Ask your doctor if loading a non-neutral spine position is safe. However, I think there are ways that people who are healthy and fit and been cleared for exercise and have some training under their belt can already do planks for a good amount of time and are working on some of these more advanced variations. I think there are ways that you can perform twisting, rotational plank exercises relatively safely. I have a video on 5 different exercises. I like just doing different hip twist planks. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but they involve a slight rotation that doesn't deviate too far from a neutral spine in most cases, and holding these positions for time can become very difficult, and it affects your core in a whole new way. And we need to be strong, not just in this a good posture, upright, neutral position. We need to be strong in all these other positions too. And if you train properly and safely, with incremental progression, I believe you can do it safely and successfully. So that's another thing. And I have another video on some twisting plank exercises. I've got a couple actually, so I'll link whatever I can dig up below this video. The last one, and one of my favorite ways to make planks harder, is to do like a non-stop circuit where you are alternating between different plank positions. So I have a video on this where I cycle through 20 different plank exercises non-stop without resting. It lasts 5 minutes, but depending on how long your intervals are, it could be anywhere from, it could be any duration. So what you do is you hold one position for, whatever, 15 seconds, hold another position for 15 seconds, etc. Do some reverse planks. And the idea is that you don't rest at all. And so in a few minutes time, you can not only get a really well-rounded core strength workout, but it can be a really good challenge overall, and it's just been one of my favorite strategies. So anyways, those are 10 different ways to make plank exercises harder. I know that I moved really fast through them. I didn't want to belabor the point, but hopefully it got you thinking, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please let me know. And if you didn't, let me know. I use your feedback to guide the direction of all the videos that I create in the future. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next video, or you'll see me in the next video. All right, take care.